Um, Different strokes for different folks. I do believe we have credit SLY with that. Everyday people? Is that from that? Yeah, yeah. It never occurred to me that it had come from somewhere. Didn't come from his first appearance with me. You know, I haven't seen that in the time. Is there a single full sentence in it, in that exchange where he sits there and it gets funnier and funnier to many people who aren't sitting there doing it? At one point, I was thinking about it today, and I thought, I realize now what feeling came over me for a moment there. I think I'm still the only person in the world who's had a guest drop dead, literally, on the show. And with SLY for a moment, it started to feel like familiar territory. But everything was fine. They were huge, that act. Well, it was the notorious 60s blending into the 70s, and sexual liberation was at its peak, and there was lots of strife in the country, and the streets were often full of smoke and tear gas, and assassinations were fashionable at that time, and we seemed to have one after another. I guess that's the only way you could have them, but I mean, it seemed like there were a numbing number of them. And and music was in somewhat of turmoil. In fact, Sly Stone really gets the credit for having changed the face of black music in general, particularly in the late 60s, early 70s, I guess. Yeah. A real musician. I mean, he's not just a character who had a fad for a while, like a lot of people did with their zany clothes. We didn't hang out much. We never hung out, really. I'd rent a motorcycle and, tear up and screech into his front yard, and he'd just tell me to piss off. But I know he's a fun guy. When I watch it, it's funny and slightly painful, and I just think, why don't I just say, Sly, if you're getting laryngitis from talking too much here, we can stop at any point, or thanks for conversing with me if that's what we're doing, or something. But to me, it really actually looks like he's controlling it. I know this is one of my loony off-center observations, but in a funny way, when I watch it, I think this is a guy who's not just responding monosyllabically or with a primitive sound, vocal sound, but it's timed. And I think if you watch it with that in mind, you'll decide I'm really nuts, or you'll see that the master was up to something that's not just accidental timing, because it's getting a laugh right when it should. I think he has a great face. It's interesting to watch his mouth when he almost speaks. He's a great looking guy to me. I care for the hat. It looks silly on me, but I thank him for leaving it to me. I couldn't be sure that he was present during one particularly amusing segment where neither of us said much, but he even less than I. I wouldn't pretend to know who he was, not being a specialist in certain fields. But with Stone, there was a studious sort of almost academic appreciation of music and its forms, and composition. There's something kind of, are we rolling?
Yeah.
There's something kind of mythical about the arch of his career and the pinnacle and then the decline and into whatever it now is. It's not quite Greek, or he didn't try to fly too close to the sun with waxed wings, but he certainly went from nowhere to everywhere and then just turned around and started back.